Hello, dreamers! Today, we're gonna talk about floating islands. Everything there is to know about them, features, limitations, some interesting facts you might have not discovered about them, and also what are the main ideas that you can use for your floating islands. Subscribe for more because this is going to be a very information-packed video, and if you like these kinds of videos, definitely click the button. We're trying to reach 40,000 subscribers by the end of this year. You think you can help us? I hope so. Alright, let's jump right into it. So first of all, my thoughts about floating islands. They are incredible. Best feature ever added to the game. I do have one question though, and this is a rhetorical question, but I am curious to know your opinion. I don't know if you remember, but a while ago, they made a post on the social media basically showing off a little teaser for the floating islands. And this is how Sunlit Plateau Island looked at their teaser. And you might notice one very significant difference from what we got right now. And it's water. It's water on this island. It's a river. And I'm pretty sure the river, like this was the edge of the island. So the island itself probably was the same size and the same shape, but it did have river and a little bit of a scar island. What I think happened, they, at some point between this post and the game release, they decided to cut off any water on the sides. They cut off the river. So if you look at this edge, you can probably find it in the game itself. Okay, so I aligned the camera in the game right now. So look at the screenshot on the social media, and now look at the game. It's the same spot. This spot and this spot is exactly the same. We have the same corner tree and two little trees. We also have the scar, well, where the scar used to be, behind the river. Now there is no river, but there is still scar in there. And they kept the same tree. They literally kept, like, you can tell that it was removed from, like, everything was the same. They removed the water. They kept all the trees. They basically where, like here, this area, this was river before. For some reason, they decided to remove the water. This was the river. This was the Scar's house. They also removed the Scar's house, and they placed just a giant bone there. I guess it was kind of weird to have a Scar's house there because we could bring the actual Scar house into the island and place it somewhere. So now it kind of looks strange because this was a river in the first version, and then there was a bunch of ocean on this side as well. So there was water falling down this side of the island. So one significant thing they did is they got rid of the water on every single island. I'm not sure why. I'm not sure why they didn't want water. But that also means that we cannot even place any water items inside the watering hole. I guess there was some issue. If you go to the furniture, if you go to, for example, Underbush, and try finding any items that go in the water, they literally says outdoors only. It's basically not available in this environment. So you cannot place anything in the water, even inside the watering holes, even though it does have a grid for it. I don't know. Let me know in the comments, why do you think they decided to remove the river? I would love to have a river in there, even if it wasn't accessible or interactable. I don't see what would be the harm in having the river, to be honest. But anyway, so each island is 130 squares wide by 130 squares wide, deep, high. I don't know, basically 130 by 130 square. And when I say squares, I mean these little squares. When you go to the furniture mode and you see these little, why doesn't it show? These little squares. So this one is 4 by 3. So this whole island is 130 by 130. Another interesting number that I found on Reddit is, according to Chaotic, there is 4,225 pathing covers the entire floating island. So that's a lot of pathing, not gonna lie. The size of these islands are so much better than I thought. It's actually slightly bigger than Plaza, and it's about the same size as some of the other biomes. But what makes floating islands, in my opinion, absolutely incredible is the layout. Each floating island is a perfect square. All of the borders are absolutely flat. There is no shenanigans like we have in regular valleys when there is rocks protruding, making it a pain to decorate against. It's a perfect square, and every single square inside this giant square can be decorated. So this is incredible. Now, the next question. Do we get more of these islands? Yes, they did say we were going to receive the islands for the remaining 4 biomes in the future updates. I don't know if it's going to be all 4 in the next update, or they're just going to be adding 1 island in each update. If I were to guess, we're getting 1 extra island per update. Eventually, I'm hoping we're going to get also islands for the DLC, but that wasn't confirmed or discussed. Now, let me tell you a couple things about the floating islands that you might not have known that actually are pretty interesting. So first of all, we cannot dig on the island. If you try digging, you literally get nothing. Even if you have potion, you don't have any resources, any memories. I guess it makes sense because there's also no obstacles spawning, no night thorns, no bones, no stones. I almost wish we could have this in the regular valley because, in my opinion, the point of the floating islands is to be like a playground, and the main valley to be something you decorate and just keep nice. So it's like, I wish there was a way to turn off spawns so my valley can always stay nice. But it is what it is. I am going to enjoy not having to worry about removing any of those things on the floating islands. The most important thing about the floating islands is that it doesn't have a furniture limit. If you go into your furniture, you literally don't have the counter, so that means you can probably place as many items here as possible. There is a chance that 3,000 and 6,000 limit still applies to the island, but I doubt it because these islands are just completely separate instances, which means that you don't have an entire valley and all of the objects in it just bogging down your device. So just rendering this island with unlimited items on it should not be a problem. I really doubt you'll be able to place more than 3,000 objects on the island without it looking ridiculous anyway, so you can decorate to your heart's content. Another interesting fact about floating islands is that you do not get crop boost if you're trying to grow the crops from a specific biome, meaning that if I grow eggplants in Frosted Heights, which I actually did, when you plant them you do not get the growth boost, which in my opinion is literally doesn't matter. The growth boost is only 10% time reduction, so it does nothing. Most of the time you're gonna plant it and forget it. There is still a limitation of 4 ancient gardeners per island, so you cannot have more than this setup for farming on each island. In my opinion, getting your island to be a farming island is a very good idea. You could even split one island between farming and storage. That's probably what I'm gonna do because I feel like that's a lot of space to just have as farming or as just storage, even though I can imagine probably someone in a day or two is going to post the biggest pumpkin field in the world, just filling up every single square in here, but it might be a little bit excessive for me. So the ancient gardeners work. They work just fine. Ancient cookers and the vacuums work perfectly as well. So ancient machines do work on the island, but the snippet traps do not work here. Even though they do work in the regular valley, I was not able to catch a single snippet on the floating islands. Not a huge deal. I can always have my setup in my valley, but just something interesting to note. Now, the next thing is kind of crazy, and it's also funny at the same time. Floating islands have 2 suns. If you look in the sky, you're gonna see a sun number 1, and right like a little lump on the top of that sun, you can see sun number 2. It's hard to see at this particular time of day, but if you go closer to sunset, for example, you are going to be able to see them in their full glory. There is sun number 1, which is yellow. There is sun number 2 that creates like a nice source of light. So I'm not entirely sure why, because it doesn't affect the shadow. It doesn't affect how bright the place is, but for some reason there is 2 suns. Maybe you could get some cool idea for a shot here. It looks incredible, by the way. You cannot do time bending on the floating islands. You cannot catch snippets, well, because the snippets never spawn on floating islands. Honestly, I'm not mad about it at all. At least we can make sure that they're not going to photobomb our dream snaps. Another tip, and this is very important, highly recommend to not do quests on the island. I would not even go on the island just in case, because I have been reading stories where people accidentally placed the quest item on the floating island, but they placed it in the wrong spot and it didn't count. So now they have to move it to the right spot. And you can't, because certain items, if it's a furniture item that was given to you, once you place it, you can only move it. But you can pick it up and bring it back to the regular valley. So if you place the quest item on the island, you are not going to be able to finish that quest. So do not place any quest items. I would honestly even play it safe and not even visit a floating island while I'm in the middle of doing a quest, just to be safe, because there is no link. There is no link between floating islands and the regular valley. You cannot just move item from one to another, especially if it's a quest item, which means you cannot get more of them or pick them up. So yeah, be very careful with that, because it will take you forever to contact support and try to get it resolved. The next thing is the trees. Look at these frosted trees. This is basically the same tree we have from Ever After. We have these in Storybook Vale, but this is a white version of it. They just keep doing it. They just keep recoloring trees and adding them. Like, why? Just give us a palette. Just give us an ability to apply a palette to a tree. They look so good. Another thing is, since the floating islands are not connected to the main valley, that also means that you will not be able to bring certain buildings. You will not be able to bring Scrooge Store, Remy's Restaurant, Tiana's Restaurant, Goofy Stall, Teleporter, even though you can visit your floating islands through the multiplayer. It's super simple to do. When somebody visits you and pop into your valley, you just go into fast travel menu and floating islands, and once you click on a floating island, you can take your visitor with you. I tested it with Quinn today and it worked flawlessly. You cannot have Daisy's Boutique. You cannot have buildings that can be placed in water. For example, you cannot move Donald, you cannot move Maui, you cannot move Ariel, you cannot move Ursula to floating islands. You can also not have orbs or pillars. You cannot have Beast Flower Shop, you cannot have Moana's boat. You catch my drift. Everything that cannot be picked up, it cannot be moved to floating islands. So you would not be able to use the pillars or any of the buildings I just mentioned. So if you are planning to use your floating island for dream snaps, something to be mindful of: if you absolutely need to have an orb in the shot or a Scrooge Store in the shot, you probably are going to need to find another place to do the dream snap. By the same logic, we cannot move any of the trees or bushes from the orchard into the floating island, which is a bummer, because I would love to set up an orchard and a farming and storage system all on one island, very organized. And I hope they add ability to do this in the future, but unfortunately right now it's not possible. One last thing is that, now this one I didn't have a chance to confirm because it didn't rain today at all. I feel like they reduced the frequency of rains or something. It did not rain a whole day I was playing this update, so maybe the rain is now a much more rare occurrence, which I'm personally very happy about, but it also means that if you are planning to have a farm on the island, I have read multiple people saying that the rain, when it rains on the floating island, first of all, the weather is synced, so if it rains in the main valley, it's going to rain on a floating island. But also, if the rain doesn't water plants on the floating islands. Once again, didn't have a chance to confirm that, but if you did, if you had the same experience, please let me know in the comments. If that's the case, that could actually be a deal breaker for having your garden on the floating island, because I personally, the way I farm pumpkins, I just plant them and I never water them because it's going to rain sooner or later, and then it's going to rain again, and then I'm not in a rush. I'm just going to come back tomorrow, and usually by the next day my pumpkins are ready to harvest. So if that's not going to be the case at all on floating islands, I might reconsider. I hate watering plants. Alright, now we talked about all of the cool features and limitations about these islands. Now let's talk about what they're useful for. Now, number one use, at least for me, and I know a lot of other people who agree, is dream snaps. Now, what makes floating island a perfect place to shoot dream snaps? Now, first of all, you have vast open space that can be easily reset because you don't have to worry about flowers, spices, and obstacles spawning and preventing you from easily deleting the items. If you want to reset your dream snap, all you need to do is just to grab a house. It could be any house, and just place it on top of your items. And unless it's a table, for some reason tables don't get removed by this method. Everything else is gonna get deleted by the house, and you can clean up your area very quickly. That also means that since nothing is gonna spawn, it's gonna be super easy. You have this giant canvas to work with. You can always easily find the location to face to get the perfect lighting. It's a square. You can rotate items, so you can always face in the right direction and get the perfect lighting every shot. You can make sure that back looks decent. You have plenty of space to create your background, your shot, your foreground, and even hide a bunch of furniture items. Now, you don't have to worry about taking down some area in your valley that you potentially already decorated. So if you are planning to decorate your valley and actually have it fully decorated, then moving dream snaps to the to the floating islands actually makes perfect sense, and I would highly recommend use at least a couple of them for dream snaps. Now, another use that I see a lot of people having for the islands is to use them as amusement parks. You can build a giant theme park. This is plenty of space to... I'm pretty sure you can fit every single amusement park ride that we have on one of these islands. And yeah, it's much easier to decorate it here because, once again, giant square, absolutely flat, absolutely beautiful. You can put the well in the middle and just have it like be a hub, central square of your entire park. The possibilities are endless. Another very popular option is to make a storage system, which exactly what I'm going to do. And also farming setup, make a giant pumpkin field. I'm probably gonna do a pumpkin field, but I already decided I'm turning forest. Oh my god, is it about to rain? Oh, look at them clouds. Oh, they just got so big. Wait, what? What just happened? I thought it was gonna rain. Anyway, I guess I'm not going to be able to test the rain thing. So I'm going to turn the forest into a giant storage system that's going to last me for the rest of my life, because it's a lot of space for a storage system. I'm probably not going to use the whole island, maybe half of it, and the other half is going to be farm. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. But that is definitely a good thing to have out of the way. Another thing I see a lot of people want to use this for is building, for example, putting all of the character houses that people don't like. So basically make it like a jail. And this one I actually think can be combined with dream snaps. Now, each of these islands is always going to have a best side for dream snaps. There's always going to be best corner or best side. For example, for Plaza, in my opinion, if you like going for day or sunset shots, this direction is going to be probably like this corner, or this direction is going to be the best for lighting because you always have the light straight in your face. So you could dedicate this corner to be just a place to put all of the buildings that you don't like, because this corner is always going to be in the shadow, in a decent lighting, and you're never going to get straight lighting in your face. So yeah, just dump all of the unboarded houses in this corner, and you can still use it for dream snaps. But basically, it can be absolutely anything you want. Floating islands are, as I said in the beginning, the best feature we ever had, just because of how much possibilities it unlocks. It's like a blank canvas. If you're a decorator, this is the best possible thing that we could have gotten in this update. You can create a Christmas village. You can create a giant Toontown. You can create a haunted experience. You can create a ginormous maze. Oh my god, I kind of talked myself into it. I want to make a giant maze, and then you can invite people to try to complete the maze and hide the prizes in the middle. That sounds like something so much fun. Also, if you're doing treasure valleys, you can host one on the island. You literally can dedicate a whole island to a treasure valley. Then nobody can go into your valley and mess with your stuff, because they're just going to get teleported straight to the island. The possibilities are endless. One thing I want to add, I want more. I don't just want one floating island for each biome. I want an ability to create multiple floating islands. Like, for example, I go here and I can create new island. I can select which biome I want it to be based on. but I want to be able to name it. For example, I can create a new Plaza Island, make it theme park. And then I want to be able to choose the size. I would love to have multiple presets for the size. Maybe this would be the largest size. Maybe I could use one that's like double the size. So maybe we can like have multiple sizes presets. So you have like a small one that's going to be like 100 by 100, a medium one that's 160 by 160, and the large one 220 by 220, something like this. And when you create it, it's like a new blank canvas that you can do whatever you want on. If you want to build one amusement park in Plaza, and then you want to build another, like keep another Plaza Island for Dream Snaps, you can have 2 Plaza Islands. Why not? These all have independent limit. They don't, like it. They already have them created. It would be incredibly easy feature to implement, to allow us to just create multiple islands based on this template. Another feature I would love to see in floating islands is to ability to copy houses instead of moving, because sometimes I want to use a house in my Dream Snap, and if I move it from the main valley, that means I'm gonna have to remember to go back and put it back in place. And by the time I do that, there's probably gonna be a bunch of spices and night thorns spawning in that spot. So I wish I would just be able to copy a building and then like just erase it. Like if I copy, like right now we can go into the menu. By the way, I forgot to show you this. If you want to bring villagers to your floating island, you can just go to the map, then click on this button on the left, and you can select which characters you want to be here. Like for example, I want these 3, and here they are. They get teleported right here, and now you can use them. They can live here. The thing is, they're not connected to their houses. You don't have to have their house in order for villagers to be here, and vice versa. You can have their house without villagers being there. So I don't see why we would not be able to copy houses to the islands. Now, if you want to bring houses, you can just go to Furniture, House, and select your desired house. Now, it says Aerial Sea Castle, yeah, but it's not going to let you place it. If I wanted to bring Hades here, I could do that. That doesn't mean that Hades is going to move here. It just means his house is going to be here. If I want to actually bring Hades, I'm going to have to go to the menu, then Villagers, and then allow Hades to be here. Boom. Oh, wait, he does get automatically brought in if you put his house. But you could banish him if you didn't want him. So that's great. Now, if you want to get rid of villagers, it's not going to work to just remove them from this menu. If you do it, it's not going to... They're still going to be here. But if you just use the teleporter, they should disappear. I didn't test it, but I'm pretty sure. So you can just literally just do this. Just fast travel to the same island, and they're still here. Oh, we're in trouble. Oh, we're in trouble. Okay, so I traveled to the main valley and then back, and now they're gone. So that's one way to get rid of your unwanted company. So yeah, this is floating islands. Incredible feature. The best feature we ever had. I think it's gonna be in combination with rotating items. It's gonna change the way people play Disney Dreamlight Valley. It's just such a good feature. I have not... There is a lot of bugs in this update, but I haven't seen any bugs with floating islands so far. They're gorgeous, they're beautiful, and I cannot wait to decorate them. Let me know in the comments, what ideas do you have for your floating islands? What are you going to use them on? Do you have any houses you want to get rid of and just hide them on one of the islands? What are your plans for every island? Are you going to build a storage system? Are you going to build an amusement park? And if so, which biome did you choose? Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. And if you have discovered anything about floating islands that wasn't mentioned in this video, please let me know in the comments as well. I'll see you later, and take care.